Communism is defined as any human relationship which operates under the principle of to each according to their need, from each according to their ability. In this sense, all humans are communists. Every functioning family is communist. Let's take an example. If you and your buddy are fixing a sink and you ask your buddy for a wrench, does he say, "What do I get for it in return?" It is with great irony that capitalist businesses are organized undemocratically, and yet they are run and operated by workers communistically, i.e. the technical division of labor, the supply chain. Workers depend on other workers to make commodities, and everyone gives according to their ability. The word communism evokes strong, visceral reactions in the West because Americans love to equate that word with what they call communist regimes. However, this is ironic because neither the Soviet Union or its satellites or China or Cuba ever referred to their government as communist. They referred to their government as socialist. When the artificial construct of capitalism breaks down in society, whether it be because of a flood or a blackout, people revert to their nature, communism. People give according to their ability and get according to their need. Let's move past the question of public and private ownership and look to more immediate and practical questions, such as who has access to what sorts of things and under what conditions. Capitalism is just a bad way of organizing communism.
Welcome to the Jaybe show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this Sunday afternoon. Just to let you guys know, the Jaybe show is every single Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys have not already, go ahead and do us a favor and go ahead and give a like for this video. This pushes us out into the algorithm so that we can reach more people who wants a better world and a better system than what we have now. So thank you so very much for that. If you have not also, if you guys can, you can subscribe to our Substack at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com. This puts us in your email, so you can have the mailing. You can be on the mailing list so that whenever we go live or upload clips, you guys have that available there as well. If you guys have any type of inquiries or stories you want to share, you guys can go to revolutionaryblackout@outlook.com. That is directly to us as well, if you guys would like to email us. And yes, without further ado, we're going to be talking. What are we going to be talking about today? Well, as you guys saw in the cold open, we'll be talking to a person who has exploded on TikTok. His name is Rathbone. He actually was on RBN previously when he spoke to Rome. He is now on with me. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be having on Rathbone today. So if you guys do not know who he is, you're about to find out. We're also going to be talking about UBI Success in Colorado. This is something that was submitted to me from a viewer. Shout out to Roger Meadows for this story. I think it is worth taking a look at to talk about. And then we're going to be talking about China finds a potential cure for diabetes. This is a big story that I don't think is getting a lot of headlines in the news. And I think especially those of us in the Black community, we definitely need to have a discussion about. Without further ado, we have activist, advocate, and all around great commie. We have Rathbone joining us today. So good to have you once again on RBN and your first time meeting me.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great. One of the things that I wanted to discuss with you at first before we get into our topics is that you have been pretty prolific around in the TikTok arena and teaching more about communism, about the mode of production, about worker solidarity. If you can give us a bit of a background just about where were you 5, 6, 7 years ago, or have you always been this based?
I have definitely not always been this based, but I would say 5, 6, 7 years ago, my journey has been where I guess you could call me a liberal, at a certain point in my life where I just felt like I didn't want to get into politics. I was a musician. I was a teacher. I thought politics was derisive, divisive. And, I just wanted to focus on music. I didn't really see the interconnectedness of everything, but I would also say that my, principles, and I think our moral faculties are sort of innate to us. And I think I've always sort of rejected capitalism, but I didn't have the articulation, I didn't have the knowledge to really, articulate it and understand it. But I think really, honestly, to speak honestly about it, is COVID was the deciding point for me. I think, I don't know, for whatever reason, I've always rejected, corporations and being a part of that corporate system. That's why I became, I guess, a teacher and a musician. But I think COVID gave me the opportunity to sort of sit around, and we couldn't do anything. We're on lockdown, so I just started, I don't know, pouring into like leftist literature and content creators, and it sort of unraveled from there, I guess. And so yeah, I sort of became I think with my teaching skills, like reading and then learning more and then wanting to communicate those things, that's where it sort of started for me. But beforehand, I was just making music,
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely some elements of wanting. I don't know. So to me, when it comes to people who are teaching, there's an inherent, and I say teaching, especially in public education, there's an inherent, what's the word I want to use? There's this move towards something that is more egalitarian in nature within our society. I see that with not just with teachers, also with like people who are like librarians. It's like they see the egalitarian nature of a different system, and they kind of have this visceral reaction towards anything capitalist, anything towards exploitation, because they see the value in the public good being utilized for everyone. He has a TikTok. His name is Mike Howe. He's a librarian. I think you probably know exactly who he is. He talks about, how his experience with library, library kids and their grown-ups. He's a sweet guy, but something tells me that he would also gravitate towards a more egalitarian system outside of capitalism. And it could be, for the most part, I mean, I'm a communist, so as far as for me, it would be a socialist system. But I feel like people who are within that realm tend to gravitate towards that. It's not set in stone, but you know what I mean? Do you see it that way?
See it, you mean people that are more inclined to education and being more, I guess, progressive or more left-leaning? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. That's what it feels like to me.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly. And I think, I mean, I think what it all comes down to is that we're all workers, and we all labor for our life. And, I think I see things very, very simply between capital and labor. And I think that it boils down to capitalism is just the private ownership of public resources. It's the ownership of what we always have in society. It's inherently exploitative. It's predicated on exploitation. In order for there to be a capitalist system, there must be a class of owners. It's like Richard Wolff says, there must be a class of owners who get everything that they don't produce, and a majority class of workers who produce all the things that they don't get. And I see everything through that lens. I think everything boils down to a class war. There's no, moral legitimacy to it. There's nothing legitimate about this system, about capitalism, about capitalists. They're full of shit, and I just want to expose them for that, And, I think there's what teaching is a very rewarding profession, and I was, happy to do it. But let's talk about one job where you're being exploited for your labor. I mean, it's definitely teaching. One of the most underpaid professions historically in our society. But I'm not sure if I answered your question very well, but yeah, I think I'm just trying to take all my teaching skills and, basically put those to use for something good and something that I believe in, and something that other people are going through as well. I think we're all going through this. The majority of people are going through this.
Yeah, I would also like to get your view on a timeline, because as we see that you and I both know that we're really in the the end stages of this capitalist system. It's basically on its way out, and as we can see, I think somebody I forgot the quote who it's from, but they say fascism is just capitalism turned inward, and we're seeing the fascism that has been going on for a while now. Some people will say that fascism has started within the last 10, 15 years. I would argue fascism probably started within the last 50 to 60 years. One of the reasons why I say that, it was actually brought out by fellow communist George Jackson in Blood in My Eye. I'm not sure if you ever got a chance to read this book.
No, I haven't.
I highly recommend.
Okay.
He was actually part of the Black Panther Party. He was he died in prison. He was put into prison under false charges because he was working with the Black Panther Party. And so George Jackson actually argued back in the late 60s, early 70s that fascism has already been here. And so I say that to say, what is a timeline do you think before the floor falls out and then something happens where the system takes a huge shift? Because I think, was it Marx or Lenin that said there are times where change, a week's worth of change happens in 10 years, and then 10 years worth of change happens in 1 week.
Right.
So when do you think that 10 years of change happens in 1 week? When do you think that's going to happen, in your educated opinion?
I think in the 30s. I think we're coming up on it, the decade of the 30s. I really, that's kind of just I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I think things are worsening, and I think I don't have a crystal ball to say. I mean, I'm not trying to deflect from your question, but I think historical events and societal changes are tough to predict. But I do agree with your overall assumption and sentiment here that we are in the latest stages of capitalism. It is, things just like everything in this world, political, economic systems are born, they evolve, and they die. Capitalism has been born, it has evolved, and it is dying, it is decaying. And that's simply just thinking about, just as Marx, said 150 some odd years ago, that it's based on the infinite, capitalism is based on the infinite accumulation of, profit and capital, and we're living in a world of finite resources. So I don't really, I think that the United States is obviously the global hegemon and its power is waning. I think we've moved away from a unipolar world into a multipolar world, which I welcome. I think that's a good thing. But, as far as what is going to happen in the future, I mean, there's so many variables, and, one big thing is the climate, I mean, it's getting much worse. We're supposed to, what is it? We're supposed to go by net, net emissions should be 0 by 2050. Like, we're nowhere near any of these things. I mean, we're not listening to the science. And, meanwhile, they're setting up cop cities. They're preparing, the ruling class is preparing for the eventual water wars. Yeah. And the wars over these finite resources. So I really don't know when it's going to. My hope is that, we know that capitalism breaks down every, 4 to 7 years. And if not 4 to 7, then it seems like every other year at this point, since it's exponentially increasing. So I know that what I think is, every time that there is an economic catastrophe like there is in capitalism, that is a chance for the other, the other class, the working class, to capitalize. Not to use a pun intended, but it's a class war, and when your opponent is at its weakest point, that's the time to strike. That's the time to attack. So I think that when we see another societal economic collapse, that's the time to capitalize on that. And we need to be organizing in the background always, waiting for that next weak moment to strike. And I think that real change is going to happen in the economic sector. I don't have any hope for political avenues. I don't care about the red or the blue guy. I think that's political theater, and that's designed to induce your consent, to make you think that democracy is being strived for, when in actuality they're both owned by the same class of people, so nothing will fundamentally change. We can't be listening to the rhetoric of these parties. We should be looking at their policies, which are identical, and stop being duped by the two-party system. The ratchet effect is in place. Republicans move everything to the right. The left blocks, or I should say the Democrats, not the left, but the Democrats block movement back to the left. And, fascism requires a weak opposition liberal party to steamroll. That's what's required. And I agree with you. I think fascism is here. When I think fascism, I don't think gas chambers. I think of a certain hierarchy. It's a certain mode of production. Our economy is fascist. We have corporations, which are fascist institutions. Literally, there's a handful of people at the top who give orders. They affect public life. And at the very bottom, I'm borrowing from Chomsky here, but at the very bottom, you're permitted to rent yourself in order to acquire the basic human survival needs, in order to reproduce yourself to the marketplace the very next day. So you're economically enslaved by these institutions which govern all public life. So yeah, I think fascism is here. It's definitely in the economy, and that's where we spend most of our lives. True. Our most of our adult lives are working. So.
Yeah. Great answer, by the way.
Thank you.
I appreciate the nuance, because a lot of times people will think that because we're communists, we're just jealous and mad that we can't make it in the capitalist system. And it's like, we don't want to make it in the system where we have to exploit our brethren in order to succeed. It doesn't sit right with me. It's, it goes against my ethics. It goes against my morals. It goes against my spirit to exploit somebody, because I wouldn't want that to be done to me. And then, people will sit there and they'll glad hand capitalism. And I'm just like, yeah, but do you see what capitalism is doing to the people in Congo?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Do you see what it's doing to people? And people would say, well, capitalism has nothing to do with what's going on in Palestine. It has everything to do with what's going on.
Everything to do with it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wasn't it in the United Nations report that talked about how there were hundreds of millions of tons of liquefied natural gas underneath Gaza? How there's hundreds of millions of tons of oil off the coast in the Mediterranean? Yes. You don't think that they don't want to get to that just because of the resources underneath there? And then they want to build the Ben Gurion Canal through Gaza so that they can compete with the Suez Canal? All this has to do with capitalism. That's what all of it has to do with. And Black people who are watching, yes, the reason why we need reparations is because of the capitalist system that actually brought our ancestors from West Africa over here to be exploited for labor. So therefore, capitalism has shafted every single group within the last 500 years. Absolutely. So when people talk about, oh my God, capitalism is the best system. If it's the best system, then why are we sitting here trying to get reparations? Why? You see, this is the thing. And if you're Black and you're watching this, especially if you're an African descendant of slave, an American descendant of slave, you need to realize an educated Black person with self-respect would not embrace a system that enslaved their ancestors.
Absolutely. 100%. And absolutely. And, just to piggyback about what you just said about capitalism is the best system, they say. I always say, for who? You always ask, for who?
Yes.
Okay. For who, by who, in the service of what, And it turns out for a very minority fraction of the population, literally 10th of a fraction of the population. I mean, there's been so many studies and so much evidence. There's a mountain of evidence in the historical record which proves that capitalism is exploitated by design. It's not a bug in the system, it's a core feature. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, what's happening in Gaza will eventually happen in America. I mean, as the conditions deteriorate. And they're already planning. The Western neoliberal, the European Union, the IMF, the World Bank, they're already planning what to do with the Gaza Strip after they've ethnically cleansed it. We need another, more waterfront condos. We need another Six Flags theme park or whatever. But, they're doing the same thing to Ukraine. I mean, literally in the news last week is Ukraine is selling off its public property, its public resources to the IMF, to the World Bank, to BlackRock. I mean, this is by design. That's why the Americans literally, like Lindsey Graham proudly proclaims, we're going to fight to the last Ukrainian. We don't give a shit. We are there for capital accumulation, and we will do anything to do. I mean, this is I think the United States is like the worst thing to happen to humans in human history. I mean, and I'm glad to see the power, I'm glad to see it deteriorate. I'm glad to see the rise of China. Okay. I'm glad to see the rise of other, of BRICS, of the global South, coming up. And it's about time. And, but yeah, this is neoliberalism at its finest. And it's fascistic, of course.
Definitely. I wanted to have that conversation to get the intellectual juices flowing, to kind of stretch the muscles, so that we can get started. And I really appreciate this conversation. I know you and me can talk for hours. Just get a couple of cups of tea.
We'll go after it.
Yeah, man. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, of course, we have on Rathbone. We're going to get into our first story talking about UBI in Colorado. So let's get into it. Rathbone, let me ask you this question. What is your general opinion of a universal basic income?
What is my general opinion? Well, I think it's another form of reformation. It's pleading to the king to be more benevolent. Okay. I don't think it's a bad thing that everyone should have a basic income, I think, as a communist, as a socialist, if you have a breath in your body, you deserve to have, food, water, and housing, basic things that you need to survive. So, I've heard, it's like, I remember Andrew Yang talking about UBI and I don't know, I'm very skeptical when the political establishment wants to, talk about, these seemingly socialist policies. I always meet that with skepticism, but do I think that people should have universal basic income? Yeah, I think that's a good thing. It's better than what we have now, so but I guess I would need to really see more about what the particulars are. What is the story here? And but yeah.
Well, here is the story here. So this is out of the Business Insider. This actually was submitted to me by viewer Roger Meadows. And so thank you and shout out to him. It says Denver gave people experiencing homelessness $1,000 a month. A year later, nearly half of participants had housing. So this came out a few days ago. Let's get into the article.
Okay. I can't believe homeless people giving anything to homeless people. My God, that's anarchy.
Oh my goodness.
Homeless people don't deserve houses.
Yep.
Another thing is that's great. $1,000. I mean, it's a Band-Aid, right? I mean, what we need to do, we want real transcendent change. We need to, I like what China does with its billionaires. I think we need to take a page out of their book. I want to see billionaires cease to exist. And I want the, I think it's the bare minimum to give homeless people $1,000, but it's a start. It's like you're saying about reparations. Like that would be the bare minimum to give to African Americans. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, definitely. Let's get into a little bit deeper into the article to get the nuance. It says Jerome Laws lived in his car in a restaurant parking lot near downtown Denver. He had worked there as a cook until 2020 and had only $400 a month left after paying bills and child support. That was barely enough to cover his car payments and child support, not even close to what he would need for rent. The 51-year-old occasionally spent part of his paycheck on weekend stays at a cheap hotel where he could spend his time with his children. He struggled to afford food, clothes, and medicine, and he had been experiencing homelessness nearly for a decade. That changed when Laws enrolled in the Denver Basic Income Project. The pilot program allowed Laws to secure a temporary apartment with furniture, spend more time with his children, and find a better paying job. It says Denver's Basic Income Pilot, which first started payments in fall 2022, focused on over 800 Coloradans experiencing homelessness, including people living in cars, temporary shelters, the outdoors, or other non-fixed living situations. Participants like Laws were giving direct cash payments, no strings attached, and could spend the money on whatever they needed. Says the Denver released the project's one-year report on June 18th, showing that 45% of participants secured their own house or apartment after receiving basic income for 10 months. They also experienced fewer emergency room visits, nights spent in a hospital or a temporary shelter, and jail stays. The report estimates that this reduction in public service use saved the city $589,214. So, perish the thought that if you actually gave the basic necessities to a human being, that they would actually thrive. Like, to me, this is kind of like a duh. Like, are we the only ones to arrive at this? I'm like, Cappies are so far behind that they're like, oh, well, if we actually started to give these poor people money, they actually start to lift themselves up.
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah. Well, I see this in the lens of capitalist propaganda because, we can't, the poor are poor by the fault of their own, habits, and the rich are rich because of their own merits. They've worked hard, the poor squander. I mean, this goes back to, Marx was talking about this, the myth of primitive accumulation, the fact that, that whoever is rich must be, virtuous, and whoever's poor must be, sinful, which is completely, not true and not backed up by any historical evidence. But yeah, imagine giving poor people, access to basic human needs. Imagine that, wow, they actually, are living better lives, and they're not, I mean, senators even today, they talk about how, well, we can't, look at what they do with, we can't have universal basic income because look at what they do with the money. They squander it. They spend it all on alcohol or whatever, all these things. I mean, we have senators in Congress who say these things. So, I mean, yeah, it's a bunch of propaganda. And I mean, I'm not going to knock the fact that, Colorado is doing this. I mean, I think it's good. I think it's still it's a Band-Aid. It's a little bit of, it's breadcrumbs, but it's certainly helping in the material world right now today. So that's good.
Yeah. This is the very pessimistic part of me. And for anybody that's watching, please forgive me. But this feels like a bribe to keep the system of exploitation in place.
Thank you. I think you just summed it up. So
we won't stop exploiting you, but we'll slide you just a couple of crumbs just so that you can get a little air in your lungs while we keep pushing your head underwater.
Yes.
That's what it feels like. And I'm like, it's like, yes, getting air when you're being pushed underwater so that you can keep living is good, but take us out of the water.
Yeah.
Take us away from the drowning.
Great analogy.
And so my thing is, it's like, okay, fine. Universal basic income is a step in the right direction, but it is one step on the staircase of 1,000. And my thing is, it's like, instead of giving us one step on a staircase of 1,000, people like you and me who are communists are like, let's take the goddamn elevator.
Yeah, exactly.
But they don't want us to do that because they want us to go step by step.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
But even it, like,
it goes, go ahead.
If a person is starving, and instead of giving them a meal, you give them a few crumbs, are they still going to die?
Yes.
Why?
Because they're going to need more food. They're slowly starving. They're slowly dying. They're going to eventually run out of those breadcrumbs, right? And then they're going to need, you're leaving. I think go ahead.
That is the reason why the duopoly does not work.
Right. I mean, they're doing that to Gaza.
Why capitalist system does not work. People will say, well, the Democrats, they did this and they did that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still dying.
Yeah. Right. There's literally no difference in the policies between the Republicans and the Democrats. It's all rhetoric. I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. I love the metaphor. And I have to think, going back to Gaza for a second, the Israeli government thought that they had they could still occupy and blockade the strip, and they were continuing to exploit the 2.3 million basically children that were living there. But they thought that by giving, I think, something on the order of 12,000 Palestinians work permits, okay, to be allowed into Israel to work, okay, that was enough to make sure that the population did not revolt. And of course, that's not what happened. That's why that's the story that we hear that why they were caught unawares by October 7th. But it's like, you're right. Stop drowning these people, okay? And, stop offering these little bribes. That's exactly what it is. It's a bribe. And I think when you leave the political establishment in place, when you leave the power structure in place, they are always fighting tooth and nail to take back every little gain that you make. We as a working class, we spend so much effort organizing, and we're fighting for all these little tiny things that, and even if it doesn't matter to the ruling class, so what? So we give them, abortion, or we give them this. It doesn't really affect them that much. They're still going to fight, tooth and nail, because they can't let you think that advocating or unionizing or organizing works, because they know if they give you this one thing, you're going to ask for another thing, So it's always class war. They're always going. They're never going to stop fighting, And so I think we need to do the same, obviously. But I think you're right. I think it's breadcrumbs. You're not actually changing anything, and it's a little thing to say here. Look how great we are. Look at what we're doing. But it's not actually materially changing our society, and we're still leaving the corporate class in power. And I think we need to legislate against corporations. I think that would be more, transcendental for society, if I can use that word, rather than something like UBI. I mean, yeah, okay, it's a minor step in the right direction, but they'll find a, it's the same thing. All right, so let me. I'm sorry I just thought of this, but like in the 1930s, workers were trying to fight for a minimum wage, okay? Mm-hmm. And the communists fought for the minimum wage, just like, and won the concept of a minimum wage. And just like that, before just fighting for the weekend. Thank you, communists, for the weekend. Okay, the fact that we Monday through Friday, we didn't have that, before like 1880, whatever. But what are we fighting for today? We're still fighting for minimum wage. What do? Well, they have other tactics. They have inflation. They can, stagnate your wages. Okay, well, the minimum wage. Okay, you have a minimum wage, but it's not actually, it's like your real wages are still going down. In real terms. Does that make sense? So we're still fighting for the same things 100 years later, is my point. They have, when, like I say, when you leave the political establishment, when you leave the corporate class in charge, they will never, they have all the tools to keep you down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I want to get back into this article.
Yeah,
I know, but there's some details I also want to go over.
Yeah,
it says the program initially lasted 1 year and was extended in January for another 6 months. Participants were sorted into random groups. One received $1,000 a month for a year. Another got $6,500 up front, followed by $500 a month, and a third got $50 a month as a control group. It says the city of Denver, the Colorado Trust, and an anonymous foundation funded the project and has already provided more than $9.4 million to participants. Basic income programs like Denver's has become a popular strategy to reduce poverty, not end, reduce poverty in U.S. cities. Compared to traditional services like SNAP or Medicaid, basic income allows participants to spend the money where they need it most. So one of the things, this is one of the biggest critiques actually against Andrew Yang when he was trying to propose the UBI, was that, yes, you will get that income, but those of us who receive SNAP benefits, like myself, and receive things like Medicaid, like myself, well, then you would lose that, and you would get in place the UBI. But let's say somebody like me gets $200, $300, $400 in SNAP benefits. Well, then I have to spend that $200, $300, $400 just on food from the UBI instead. But now I'm kind of depressed because in reality, now I have to spend this money that I would typically have with SNAP on different things. And then on top of it, when you're somebody that's disabled, you have extra expenses that some people who are able-bodied do not have. So therefore, where is the fairness?
I agree. It's one thing for another. I mean, you're trading one thing for another. You're not actually solving the problem.
Yeah. This is what I call equality with lack of equity. That's what it is. Because they feel that everybody's equal. Have you seen that actually, let me show it. Let me share it. Because this gets on my nerves when people talk about, oh, we just want equality. No. Equality is not the only thing. Hang on. There was a picture that a lot of people, I think, should. Yes. Okay. Can I enlarge this? I don't know. Let me see. Oh, perfect. Okay. So let me share my screen really quick because everybody talks about, oh, well, we want equality. And the thing is, it's like, yeah, equality is good on the surface, but what you also need is equity and liberation.
I had a feeling it was going to be this meme. Yes.
Because the problem is a lot of times people will be like, oh, well, we just want equality. This is what reality is saying all the way on the left, right? This is what it is when you have a system of hierarchy. When people say they want equality, they're saying everybody gets the same size box, but not everybody has the same circumstances and needs because it's not the system of each according to their ability and each according to their need, because that's not how capitalism operates. When you have equity, it's like, yes, everybody gets, some people will get a little bit more, and then some people will get, a little bit less based on their need. But liberation means that you take away the barrier altogether so everybody can have. So my thing is like UBI is really just the equality portion.
Right.
It's not the equity portion, and it's sure as hell not the liberation portion.
Yeah, it doesn't take into account, like you say, the people that are disabled. Everybody's getting the same amount, and you're not speaking to people's needs and conditions. And getting back to the principle, to each according to their need, from each according to their ability. There's this we have this warped perception of the public that the public, we need to mistrust the public. The public is evil. Even though we are the public, we are part of the public, but we're taught that, you know, we should distrust our fellow people. We are all in it to get ahead and get what you know. Self-enrichment is the principle here we're operating on, and this sort of thinking, the fact that, you know, thinking about others and equity. I mean, it's just the antithesis of capitalism, and yeah, I mean, one thing you could do is just, you know, take a baseball bat to all those boxes that the billionaires are sitting on. You know what I mean? Like, instead of giving these breadcrumbs to the poor, why don't we, God forbid we tax billionaires. God forbid we make it illegal to accrue $1 billion for one individual. Like, God forbid Jeff Bezos can't make $12 billion in 5 minutes because of a stock market rumor, you know, that he was going to create another iPhone or some shit. I mean, like, it's just there. You think that, like, all this wealth is generated, you know, gregariously, or that it's, you know, it's by hard work. I mean, it's just a complete scam. I mean, the stock market itself is a scam, not to get on another topic, but yeah, I had a feeling you were going to show that meme. It's a perfect illustration of what we're going through right now, the reality of it.
Yeah. So I want to also get to this point in the article, because I have a point that I would like to share, and I'm pretty sure that you would also share the same point. So this paragraph says, Denver's report found that basic income primarily helped participants pay for immediate expenses like transportation, hygiene, clothes, and groceries. Affording recurring bills like rent, healthcare, or debt payments was also a top priority for most families. Participants in each payment group reported increased financial stability and reduced reliance on emergency financial assistance programs. Now, let me say this. Imagine if you were to just give the resources to the people without them having to buy it personally. If you actually just, I don't know, gave people housing, if you just made sure that everybody had basic food, you don't have to give them the processed anything. You can just give them basic staples: rice, potatoes, pasta, the fruits and veggies, maybe some meat, and then just let them cook on their own. You could just give people just the basic necessities, including education, right? And then watch them grow. Chia. It's crazy how you just, it's like you have to have, oh, we just give them the money. And it's like, well, why not just give them the services outright?
Well, no, because in capitalism, these services are provided by private owners and landlords and, you know, private corporations, internet companies and utility companies. We have to pay those. What are the? Won't someone please think of the corporation? Won't someone please think of the board of directors? I mean, are you trying to say you don't want these CEOs to get their Christmas bonus so they can, you know, sail their yacht to Turks and Caicos? I mean, what heartless monster are you?
Yeah. Then they go to Turks and Caicos and start to exploit the workers over there because it's
easier too.
Yeah, of course. So,
yeah, and you're right though. Instead of, you know, making people, oh, well, here's some money for rent and for food, and why are these things privatized away from us? Why are we deprived of these things in the first place and forced to, you know, forced to pay for them? And the really irritating thing, okay, which I want to communicate to your audience, is that they stole this from us in the first place. All of these things are created, innovated, researched, and developed using public money. It's our money, okay? And it was innovated in the state sector, okay? Everything that you can think of virtually, okay? The internet, you know, electricity, et cetera, et cetera. Every public utility, that's all created by workers using public money. And what happens in a capitalist system is all of those innovations are handed over by the government to private corporations who then market it and turn a profit off of it.
Yeah.
Back to the public, who has to pay for it twice. We have to pay for the things that we already paid for in the first place, okay? If we had anything resembling a capitalist society and, you know, principles, Well, isn't it a capitalist principle that those who invest in something should see an ROI? They should see a return on their investment. So where's our return on investment for the internet? Okay, we've created the internet. We've created all of microelectronics, software, all of these things. So I just reject. I think we're spot on. We should be rejecting this whole system where I have to, or poor people, can't afford rent, but hey, we're going to give them, a pittance. We're going to give them some breadcrumbs so they can. And it's just it's a more of a justification for the system as it is.
Yeah. Hang on. I'm going to address something really quick. Cheddar Steve, though you in Rumble, you said black people are F, keep voting Democrat fools. Here's the thing. This is one of the reasons why we're in the situation we're in, because the Democrats and Republicans are working in cahoots with one another to keep the capitalist system, the exploitative, the parasite class in place. So therefore, if we want to un-F the black people in this country, we actually need to get rid of the system that actually put us in this place in the first place. So therefore, I do not subscribe to voting for Democrats. And if you're saying that we shouldn't vote for Democrats, absolutely, I agree. In fact, Democrats can go kick rocks, because guess what? They're the ones who also helped keep us in this first place. Might I remind you what Joe Biden did when he helped author the 94 crime bill and also kept this system in place in mass incarceration? He and Trump are the same person. Trump is just a little more orange. So here's my thing. If you are new to RBN, hi, welcome. My name is Jaybe. I'm one of the members of RBN. I'd like to tell you right now, leave the duopoly, and actually, if you're going to vote, then vote either third party or independent. If you're not going to vote, then organize and get rid of this system in the first place. Whatever Rumble rants you send, we kindly accept. Thank you.
And grow a spine, Cheddar Steve. I know that might be hard for you to do. And take off your mask. Why don't you go mask off when you say these things, please? Yeah. Biden funded 100,000 more cops. We have more cop cities. We have more incarceration. We have more funds. He's funded cops more than any other president, as if I recall correctly. So yeah. This guy is totally cucked. He doesn't understand the corporate duopoly that he lives in. Just tell us that you don't understand the political economy of capitalism that you're living in without telling us, Cheddar Steve. Thank you so much. Self-reporting your ignorance. Appreciate you.
Come on, Stephen. Yeah. But let me go to this too. This is also, oh, please. This is not the place to be promoting your own channel. I'm not showing that. Anywho. So I want to share this as well, because it says being able to pay bills alleviated participants' financial stress. There's also a mental health aspect to all of this that a lot of people just do not talk about, is what we call the disease of despair. And some people go, well, why don't you just pick yourself up by your bootstraps? Number one, you ain't got no boots in the first place. Number two, to be able to pick yourself up by your bootstraps is an impossible task, because I want you to do me a favor, those of you who are watching. If you have on sneakers right now, I want you to lift your entire body off the floor by your shoelaces. Can you do it? Have you done it yet? Why aren't you doing it yet? Man, come on. You got to do it, right? But it's an impossible task. On top of it, you got to think about the mental aspect. Those of us, we're so broken that to even grab our own shoelace, to even try to lift ourselves up by our bootstraps, it is an impossible task to even grab the shoelaces, because we're broken here. We're broken here, we're broken here, we're broken everywhere. So when people talk about, oh my God, well, why don't these people pick up, like they'll talk about, oh my God, they're addicted to substances. Well, what do you think? Why? Because trauma is a gateway drug, people.
That's a good point. It's
like what?
Yeah. Well, again, capitalist propaganda. Success or failure is is on the individual. Okay. And what's really false and irritating about that is that no one is successful on their own. Everyone. I mean, we have this, fairy tale about these billionaires that they just descended from heaven and they came to save humanity and society. And then when you actually look at the numbers, you realize they're the most heavily subsidized people. I mean, they love socialism. They love being subsidized by the government. They couldn't do it without our money. So that's the real hypocrisy here.
They couldn't do it without us.
They couldn't do it without us. That's right. Oh no, Jeff Bezos created Amazon, into a transnational corporation all by himself. Okay, he ran every route. Okay, he packaged every box, every delivery.
Think about that great value, Lex Luthor. Dear God, get on my damn nerves. Damn nerves. Ugh. Anyways, but yeah. So I mean, that's for the most part that article. Do I think, in conclusion, do you think that UBI is a step in the right direction, or is it just a ruse to keep the system in place, or is it a little bit more nuanced than that? What is your opinion?
I think it's a ruse. That's a good question. Okay, that's a good question. My heart of hearts tells me that it's just a ruse to keep this establishment in place, and will it make it might make it better for a certain the certain people that are getting this, and maybe that does relieve financial stress, but it's not actually doing anything long term or changing the system like we need it. It's a band-aid over a bullet wound, and that's my feeling on it. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you would say that it's a ruse as well, or I mean, what do you think that it's somewhat helpful? It's a step in the right direction.
I say it's a ruse, but if you are in Denver, get that $1,000 anyway.
Right. And you never know. I mean, speaking to how things develop, how society, you were talking about this a little bit earlier. I feel like you touched on it. How societies change, it takes a lot of like quantitative, sometimes unnoticeable changes to bring about a qualitative shift, So take, for instance, the auto worker strike last year. I mean, I think that was a great thing. It was a great demonstration of material power over the economy. And does it they bargained for a better deal? Okay, that was a good thing, and it probably improved the lives of a lot of those workers. So, but it's like if you think of that as just some isolated thing, and then our work is done, then that is where you go wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with advocating for these incremental things, but if you just see them as ends in of themselves, I think that's where it's a problem. I think we can't let up. And remember, the goal is to free all of the workers, the working class entirely. And I've been really interested in learning more about, honestly, the power that the working class has over the economy. Like I say, I think that's where the real transcendental change is going to happen. It's always in the economic sector. I think that's what Lenin proved. And I love talking about the Houthis in the Red Sea, how they're bombing commercial ships. They're imposing a partial blockade on a country that is conducting a ongoing genocide. That's a good thing. And they're showing that they have material power over the global supply chain. And that's what we need to do domestically here. We need to institute our own little choke points in the economy. Say, hey, we're living in a capitalist system. What is the thing that capitalists, fear the most? A decrease in their profits, their ability to accumulate more profits and extract more profits from the working class. So we need to show them that we make, like Chris Small says, we make this shit go, y'all. Like we have the power here. But the problem is just getting everybody on the same page and organizing, obviously, because it's a lot easier to organize, a couple thousand people of ruling elites than it is, millions of people in the working class. But then again, it also takes a relatively small amount of workers in the supply chain who are strategically positioned to make catastrophic losses for the capitalists. Yeah. So I don't know.
The blood supply, the circulatory system of a capitalist system is capital. If you cut off the capital, well,
exactly. And the whole idea of private ownership, I can't stress that enough. The fact that we have literally capitalism is the private ownership of public resources, and socialism is the public ownership of public resources. Now, which of the two do you think is moral? Which of the two do you think is more legitimate? I mean, I think it's self-evident and clear. But
yeah. So I appreciate your thoughts on that. So I also there was a question through one of the viewers, Roger Meadows, is asking, what state are you from?
I am from the state of New Orleans. I'm from Louisiana.
Louisiana. Okay. All right. You just want to know.
I can't see the chat for some reason. I need to fix that.
Actually, if you go to, I think there's public chat. And
maybe if I hit you on YouTube.
Private, and then you have the public chat, you should be able to. But yeah.
Okay, public chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hit on private chat. Okay, comments. Oh shit! I wish I would have known this earlier. Now I see them.
Okay. It's okay. So while you're here, and then I'll get to the comments in a little bit. I would like to go to the next story. Do you have time?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So I want to go to this next story, and then we're going to be talking about China finds a potential diabetes cure. This story knocked me out. One of the reasons why is because I got family members with type 2 diabetes. I don't have it myself because a lot of people tend to think, oh, you're on dialysis, you must have diabetes. No, not everybody on dialysis has diabetes. But there was a story that came out about type 2 diabetes cure that when I saw it, it was just like, what are we doing here? Why do we have this system in place? Because we could have done this a long time ago. So this is out of Breakthrough News. I just want to give a shout out to them for showing this. I'm not sure if you saw it already, but this was amazing. So let's go into it. And please feel free, if you want to comment, please feel free, and I will stop at intervals. I do not care. I would love to hear your thoughts.
If you ever needed any more proof that the US government doesn't care about humanity, China just cured type 2 diabetes for the first time ever, and the US government is trying to pass legislation that would prevent US scientists from working with Chinese pharmaceuticals. Diabetes is a massive crisis that no one talks about. It's the 8th leading cause of death in the United States and killed 103,000 Americans in 2021. That's more than 4 times the number of all of the homicides in the US every year. But you never hear politicians talking about, we gotta get tough on diabetes. Worldwide, 422 million people are affected by the disease. Diabetes is caused.
Let me say this here. You want to know why they talk about, some people are going to get mad at me for this. You want to know why they say, well, we got to get tough on diabetes? Part of it is, yes, as far as class concerned, it's a class issue, but it's also a race issue too. Because disproportionately, diabetes is actually it affects Black people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So of course, because I don't see them going, oh my God, we really got to tackle sickle cell anemia.
No.
Right?
No, of course not. It's drawn on racial lines too.
Yeah. So let me share this. I had that earlier.
And as you're pulling that up, what comes to my mind is insulin. Which was the person that innovated insulin, gave the patent for free practically. Didn't he sell it for like $1? Because he said that everyone should have access to this. And then, most recently we have the whole Twitter thing with the stocks, where I forgot the company that makes the insulin, but they somebody impersonated them and said, okay, insulin's going to be free now, and then they had this big backlash. But no, insulin's still a couple $100 per shot or whatever.
It takes $3 to make one vial.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it's class war. It's class war. They're trying to, this is the capitalist. The capitalist in the corner is like, I can make money off their survival needs.
Yep.
Well,
so
that's capital for you. Evil.
This is out of the National Institute of Health. It says study found that the chance of developed diabetes was significantly higher for Black adults than for white adults, about 66 more cases of diabetes per 1,000 people. The greatest difference was between Black women and white women.
Mm-hmm.
So this just shows that it's not just a class aspect. There's also a racial aspect to it too. So when people go, oh, well, it's all class. No. It has race to do with it too. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get back into this video because they actually explain how diabetes works. So
2 million people are affected by the disease. Diabetes is caused by a deficiency of insulin, usually because a person's pancreas, the organ responsible for creating insulin, isn't producing enough. Until today, it had no known cure. But last month, a group of Chinese scientists published a report about how they used stem cells to treat a diabetes patient. They took the patient's blood cells and turned them into stem cells, which they used to regenerate the patient's pancreas. Stem cells are basically unassigned cells. Brain cells are the building blocks of the brain, skin cells are what make up your skin, but stem cells can become any kind of cell. And when you place them near other cells, they turn into that kind of cell and multiply. These scientists took the stem cells they made out of the patient's blood and used them to regenerate the patient's pancreatic tissue. The patient in the experiment, a 59-year-old man who had been living with type 2 diabetes for 25 years, had been taking multiple insulin shots daily. But just 11 weeks after receiving the stem cell transplant, he no longer needed any insulin injections, meaning he's effectively cured. This is a major breakthrough and something the US has been trying to develop for some time now.
Wow.
But they've been trying to develop it with the intent of profit seeking.
And that's the crux of the whole thing. Profits over people.
Yeah.
Human rights is a for-profit industry. Okay. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Because the thing is
stem cells. We need to get in on that. Let's get on the stem cell investment. We have to buy some stocks in stem cells.
Exactly. And the funny thing is that it's already in us.
Yeah.
So we have it for free in our own bodies, and yet they want to profit off.
Oh, of course. Everything must be a commodity.
Yeah. You know,
and it also makes me think of Cuba, right? I've heard that Cuba has a lung cancer vaccine.
They also have a cure for the condition which would cause, I think neuropathy leads to it, where you would have to have your limbs removed because of diabetes. They actually cured that in Cuba.
Wow.
Yes.
And
So you have socialist countries that are literally curing diseases that would greatly improve our living conditions here in this country. And yet they want to cut that off because they don't want our scientists to learn from Chinese scientists.
No, same thing with the pharmaceutical industry. Like, you know, we need to. There's no incentive to cure these things because they're making too much money off of their treatment. You know, like cancer treatment. You know, insulin. You know, there's no incentive. But capitalism innovates. I thought. No? Why is the Communist Party of China innovating?
And here's the funny thing, because if we were to cure diabetes, well, there goes Ozempic. You see the Ozempic craze that's going on right now? Well, because originally Ozempic was a diabetes drug, right?
I know.
And so now you have all these stars, all these people that are like going on Ozempic who don't have diabetes, by the way, just so that they can lose weight, because that's a silver bullet to lose weight. By the way, this is just my opinion, but about 10 to 15 years from now, we're going to have studies that show that people had adverse effects to the Ozempic who did not have diabetes because they were taking a drug that was meant for diabetics. Yeah. I have a feeling that's going to happen. You know, hear me now, quote me later, but that's what I feel like is going to happen. But the problem is that we live in a system that pushes us towards obesity. And I can talk about this because I'm fluffy. So the thing is, if we really want to change this system around, it has to be from the ground up so that it affects our food, our ability to be active and all in this country. But that also means taking away the profit motive for, you know, that incentivizes us to be more stagnant and you know, immobile and consuming, of course, the processed food, the salt, fat, sugar that was constantly put in front of us.
These companies are making record profits. Why would they want to change anything? You know, why would they want to? I mean, it's pretty simple. You know, it's not a conspiracy to think that, you know, powerful people get into a room together and decide things that affect public life, and they decide on their own interests. That's, you know, that's why I love when people rightfully shame and are derisive against the government for the politicians. They suck. You know, yeah, okay, we get it. But why do you still like capital? Like, why are you still pro-capitalist? Why? How do you not make the cognitive leap that capitalists have captured the government? That is why policies are not benefiting the public. You know,
like I always say, government is like a hammer. Who wields it matters. So a hammer can either be used to build or used to destroy.
Very good.
Depending on who holds it, they're either a builder or a destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have that hammer of government in the hands of the corporate dictators, of course they're going to destroy humanity.
And there have literally, there literally have been studies done on this. Okay, I think Princeton, maybe UCLA is another one. I forget the other one. Maybe it's Berkeley, but they studied like 40 years of like how senators were voting. You know, and then they looked at public attitudes on those same issues that the senators voted, and they looked at how the senators voted, and they looked at how the public felt about it. And as they went up the income scale, what did they notice? That the senators generally voted for how the top 1% of earners felt. They were benefiting those people. And as you went down the income scale, it was actually antagonistic towards the poor. You know, how they voted actually harmed the poor. And then there was like in the middle, it's like it didn't really affect either way. But that should tell you a lot. Okay, these policies are, you know, these laws are being enacted for the corporate class, and that's you know, like you said, the people stick. You know, that's what capitalists do. They beat the people with the people stick. That's our stick. The public is out. I mean, I'm sorry, the government is our stick. That's supposed to be the one thing that we have to institute democracy, to make sure that our voices are heard, and it's been captured by sociopathic, greedy parasites in the vulture class.
Yep. And I cannot wait till when we get that stick back and we go to the corporations and go, respect my authority.
Get all Cartman on them. Yeah, that's right. Full Cartman. We're going full Cartman.
Respect my authority.
All right, let's go. I forgot I could do Cartman. Anyway,
you could do Cartman. I didn't have no idea
for the first time.
Yeah. I forgot I could. The things we do. All right. Take it away, Communist Clark Kent.
And something the US has been trying to develop for some time now. The FDA approved for the first time cell therapy for diabetes patients, but the cells in this treatment come from dead people, and there aren't enough organ donors to treat everyone with diabetes. Point being, we should all be celebrating China's achievement, right? Right?
Right.
Well, apparently not. Because if you watch the mainstream media, you'd think we're supposed to hate China. In the last few years, China has become the world leader in a lot of things, like electric vehicle production, green energy, public transportation, AI. Other countries have begun turning to China as a mediator in diplomatic relations, a role traditionally filled by the US. In 2010, China's economy became the second largest in the world and is now on track to outgrow the US economy as soon as 2030. In other words, China is now powerful enough of a country that it threatens America's world superpower status, and America doesn't want to give that up. In an effort to dampen their growth, the US has launched an all-out assault on Chinese industry with sanctions and tariffs. It's encircled China with US military bases, armed with long-range missiles zeroed in on Chinese shores. And one of its latest...
I gotta skip past that because we can't...
You can't show that?
Necessarily show stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah. I forgot.
Bill called the Biosecure Act. This bipartisan bill would ban any U.S. business that receives federal funds from working with 4 Chinese medical firms. One of the companies listed, a Chinese pharmaceutical manufacturer called WuXi, works with 19 of the 20 largest pharmaceutical manufacturers in the U.S. One of the companies WuXi works with, Vertex Pharmaceuticals, cured a patient of the far less common type 1 diabetes. And now they're scrambling to find alternative suppliers at the precise moment when you could have a collaboration that cures type 2 diabetes. When you think about the implications of all this, it really calls into question the fundamental nature of our government.
Of course.
You don't say.
I love calling him Communist Clark Kent because, number one, he's pretty super. Number two, he has a lot of base takes. But and that I hope he takes that as a compliment.
And he looks like it. He looks the part. So
yeah, of course. All you guys do.
Right.
But
Right.
I honestly do think that this, like, for instance, the ability to cure type 1 diabetes. Imagine how many young people that affects in this country. I thought we were America first. I thought by being America first, that means that if you find that somebody actually has a cure for one of the most dangerous diseases that we have in this country, that you'd be willing to collaborate with another country in order to cure your people.
But that's not how our government works. That's not how capitalism works.
Mm.
Good point. But I mean, you could say that for so many things, that's just the modus operandi for our government, that they're not acting on the benefit. They're not acting on the interests of the people. They're acting on the interest of capital accumulation. And, they will sell us the rope that we use to hang it finally,
And it's funny. So, as somebody explained this to me, now it could be medical mumbo jumbo. I'm not sure. But somebody said type 2 diabetes is diabetes of what they said is diabetes of the pancreas or something like that. But they said type 3 diabetes is diabetes of the brain, also known as Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay.
My thing is that could they be on the way to curing Alzheimer's too? And if that's the case, I have nothing but disdain for the corporations that puppet our government and cause us to continue to keep suffering, because they literally could help cure my mother, my uncle, my family members who have diabetes. And the fact is that because they are running away from the cure, any reason why we should still want to keep the same system in place?
No.
Imagine how many people you get off of dialysis or prevent them from having dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Senius and DeVita don't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
Let's continue. He's almost done.
You have hundreds of thousands of people suffering and dying from a now curable disease, and your own government is preventing you from working with the very country on the cutting edge of the cure, and instead spends hundreds of billions of dollars to prepare to.
Yeah, I gotta skip over that. Yeah. Because the tube don't like it.
Import of a Cuban miracle treatment for diabetic foot ulcers, which we reported on 2 years ago, a treatment that could have saved hundreds of thousands of people from having their body parts amputated. Instead, the US government continues to impose a 60-year blockade on Cuba, preventing medical collaboration almost entirely.
This is a
What happened to the sound? What was that?
It's weird.
It's really mind-boggling when you think about it, but then again, these are the same people spending your tax dollars to blow up hospitals and murder Palestinian children. So I guess it really shouldn't come as that much of a surprise.
What was that?
Oh, I was just saying, bingo. They're using the same. They're using our money to blow up hospitals. It's purely psychopathic. I saw somebody in the chat say they're psychopaths. I mean, I tend to believe that most people in the world are good. I think all of the institutions that govern public life are just run by psychopaths, and it's class based. They have no incentive to help poor people. It's purely a plutocracy controlled by oligarchs, and this is the world that they have created. And we're forced to go along with it. And unless we decide to organize and take our power back, no war but class war. It's absolutely right.
Yep. We're living a world literally run by supervillains.
Yeah, and I think, they might not think of themselves as supervillains. They might be good family men or people that are personally, but we judge people by their institutional role in society. What sort of function do they serve? And yes, I believe that their function, the function that they serve, should be abolished. It's evil. It's psychopathic. Yeah. Sorry.
You get the last word on that one. Let's continue.
Part of the reason for this is that the same way that all of the members of Congress that are so gung-ho about supporting Israel are actually taking money from Israel, the people in our government that are sanctioning Chinese medical institutions are taking millions of dollars in bribes from a for-profit medical industry that makes billions of dollars from treating but not curing diabetes. Insulin, like all medicine under capitalism, is a commodity that's bought and sold for profit. Up until recently, healthcare companies were marking up insulin treatments as much as 5,000%. A vial of insulin, which costs about $10 to make, would go for around $300 on the drug market. People were literally dying because they couldn't afford to buy enough insulin and tried rationing what little they could afford. This makes no sense if your goal is maximizing human well-being, but it makes perfect sense if your goal is maximizing profit. The pharmaceutical industry spends the most money lobbying Congress of any industry by far. In other countries, paying a member of the government to change the law on your behalf is called bribery, and it's illegal. In America, it's called lobbying, and there are rules and regulations that tell you exactly how to do it.
What was you saying?
Oh yeah, I was just lobbying. I was right there with him. The fact that our government is set up in such a way where it can be compromised by special interest lobby groups. The fact that we have super PACs, these that can, legislate laws. As soon as a senator gets elected, he's bogged down with corporate lobbyists coming into his office, telling him, showing him drafts of bills, and he's got to, they're working it all out, and he's thanking his donors. He's already trying to secure funds for his next election. It's not a conspiracy to think that senators, are going to act on the interests of the people that pay them. These are their constituents. They got them in office. Of course, they're going to, enact all these laws that benefit their benefactors.
Yep, absolutely.
It's
this subject.
I just feel like we're at the point. What's that? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just feel like we're at the point where we have to articulate these things. I think we need more people walking around society, understanding the class-based society that they live in, and we have to change the people's thoughts, and then thoughts become actions. But I know I sound like a pessimist, but we have to at least articulate the problem first. I feel like,
which is what we're doing right now. Yeah. Great job, Rathbone.
The cost of U.S. hostility towards China isn't just that our politicians are dragging us into a war of unbelievably catastrophic proportions. It's also the cost of everything we lose when we choose a policy of ruthless confrontation and delinking over mutually beneficial cooperation. Instead of sanctioning Chinese scientists, we could be developing cures for diabetes and cancer together. Instead of fear-mongering about the use of Chinese train cars in the US, China could help us build high-speed rail all across the country, given that they have the most highly developed high-speed rail system in the world. In this highly technological age, when we could be coming together as a planet to apply science and technology to make disease, poverty, suffering, and war a thing of the past, the best our politicians and the capitalist system can come up with is war with China.
And war with Russia. And
Build a better world with bricks.
I mean, it's true though. I mean, that's what we're a dying empire. As this is the real scary thing, is that the United States is losing power, and it's continuing to. And just as you said, BRICS has overcome the GDP of the G7 countries, so they're outpacing us. China is the fastest growing economy. It's only a matter of time before they ultimately overtake the U.S. And what is the U.S. going to? What's the one card that the United States can play? It has 800 or some odd bases around the world. They have we have the whole world at gunpoint. So that's pretty scary to think that when someone is desperate, like think about crybaby Netanyahu, as he's losing his grip on his coalition, on his government. What is he going to do? He doesn't, we're already seeing it. He has no inclination to end this genocide against the Gazan people. He doesn't want to destroy Hamas. If Hamas doesn't exist, he knows that once the dust settles, once the war, we're not, I say that in quotes because it's not a war, but once the war is over, he's out, and once the United States is their power is finished, like what are they going to do once they're once China overtakes, once BRICS comes up, there's the new world order that's emerging. So fuck America and fuck Israel. Death to America, death to Israel.
Oh. I'm not sure if you actually got to see the documentary from Rome. He actually has a documentary called Death to America that was from Right Brain Studios, but I highly recommend that you watch it. In fact, I can send you the link to it. Right Brain, it's an anti-imperialist streaming service that shows, in fact, they're friends to RBN. Let me see.
Cool.
Yeah.
So they're an anti-American streaming service, huh?
Yeah. They're what I would like to
share it. Yeah. Anything that says "Death to America," and I'm on board.
Yeah. Hang on.
Ant Farm Diary says, "Why don't you leave then?" Well, if I was a pussy, then maybe I would.
Let me share this. So it's Right Brain Studios. They actually do really great content. They actually show content from different countries. They did DPRK, Palestinian cinema,
this is nice.
Cuban cinema, Soviet cinema. They show all this stuff like embargo films of Cuba. They do one from Muslim creators. And by the way, co-founders is Jewish.
Nice.
He's anti-Zionist Jewish.
Anti-Zionist,
yeah. So
they exist.
Weird films.
Imagine that. Zionism is not Judaism.
Yeah. So they do wonderful work. And then this is Rome's trailer. Yeah. They actually produced a trailer.
That's y'all's Rome. That's our Rome, right?
Yeah. Our Rome. Definitely. It is hang on. I gotta log in. Hang on. Oops. All right. Let me share my screen again. I don't want y'all to get my login information. Next thing you know.
Yeah, I'll reappropriate that.
But actually, and this is from the actual owners of Right Brain, they said that we don't care if you share passwords.
Okay.
Yeah, they share passwords, watch watch the content. But this is they actually produced this.
Sick.
I'll show this to you just for a little bit. So
nice.
Oh yeah, man. It's a lot of good shows in there, man. We touch bases from down there, from Africa to Russia, the shit that's going on in the neighborhood. Down there, do everything. And if you want to get down, shit, you can take down my number actually, because I'm building a militia. You got a felony.
You said what?
I'm building a militia.
And with the many faces and the man that I became many men in this one lifetime. Your life has already been taken from you. There is nothing we should fear.
Like this area that we are in right now was the blood control area. We went a different route.
Fuck yeah.
My mission is to get you to fight.
Death to racism. I really mean death to imperialism. So when I say death to America, I really mean death to America.
Rome is based as fuck. Yes. Wait, is this already out?
it came out last year.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So and I think it's like $5 a month for Right Brain.
Happily give $5 a month instead of giving it to what, Netflix or Hulu?
Yeah. And then on top of it, they were actually giving proceeds for ticket sales to different events to Palestine. So they were actually doing that as well. So that's why I promote Right Brain whenever I can.
That's
because
cool.
They're literally doing work on the ground. In fact, Real Orlando, which is revolutionary education action network. Action League here in Orlando. They are a Marxist-Leninist mutual aid group here in Orlando. I've actually, went to their farm where they're actually feeding the unhoused in this area. They actually hold viewings of different films, and Right Brain will share the films with them, and then they actually watch on a monthly basis a different film. It will be Palestinian, it will be Syrian films, it will be films from DPRK, from Cuba. Nice. So they're really legit. So I appreciate the guys, Kevin and Mark from Right Brain.
But what's the organization, not Right Brain, that was doing the work with them? Did I hear that correct?
Real Orlando.
Real Orlando. Okay.
Yeah, I can send you those links too. But yeah, they're doing amazing work on the ground. I shout out to Real Orlando. I love those beautiful people. They are doing work on the ground so amazing too. If you haven't got it, I would love to see more groups like them around. So yeah, but what I'll do is I'll put it in the private chat so you can have that link already.
Yeah.
But
I actually just recently watched some Cuban movie from like 1968, and they were talking about, like, it was very political, and I guess it would be one of those movies that were under embargo apparently, but you can find it on YouTube. I forgot the name of it, unfortunately, but There's so much culture that we're just missing out on, and this is cool. I like this. I'm definitely going to take a look at this.
Yeah, and then I'll show you Real Orlando. They have an Instagram page, and just show you. They also have PFK, which is People's Free Kitchen. Does every single Sunday they actually feed the unhoused in the Orlando area.
Oops.
So yeah, just gives you a bit of a
which one is this?
This is Real Orlando. This is their Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah. So they also do really good work. We're trying to collaborate with them at the Orlando chapter to do more on the ground because they have a lot to teach. And I actually went to a class for emergency first aid with them. And that was deeply educational, just in case, you're encountering opposition. I'll just say that. And so if it affects anybody in a physical way, causing physical trauma, then you learn how to actually give that person immediate emergency first aid. So we actually learn how some of that as well. So they hold classes like that too. So so they are an amazing group.
Cool.
Yeah. So just trying to share, my comrades, to whoever I can. And
I'm
also
giving them a follow right now.
Yeah. And then if you want to, you can always reach out to them, DM them, and invite their members on to talk.
Yeah.
We've had them on here. I've had them on my channel. It's me and Sabby had them on for the Sabby and Jaybe show, a member. And so I just, appreciate the work you're doing on the ground. And we just want to uplift and amplify and collaborate.
Yep. We need more of that, honestly. More of these like organizations coming up and showing, and we have to show show our support for them.
Yep, definitely. So while that's being said, yes, as far as trying to do more on the ground, I see that you're doing in the education work, and I just got to say, education is really part of the front lines of going against this system. And I just want to say I appreciate the educational work that you've been doing.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I say likewise, right back at you, because I've just, recently became aware of, I just got on Twitter basically like a couple months ago. And
I'm very sorry.
My condolences. Yes. But no, I've been watching, I knew about Sabby. I've watched her live stream, or I guess you'd call it a podcast, for many months now. So it's been nice being introduced to all of you with Revolutionary Blackout Network, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, definitely. What do you have coming up next, and where can people find you?
Well, I normally stream every day, thereabouts, on Twitch and YouTube. I'm,
cool.
Basically, I sort of just started a YouTube channel as well. And
happy 25,000, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. And I just basically am covering the news. That's pretty much like what I do every day, or I'll do some reading, some commie reading, just making content, just political agitation content on every day is sort of what I'm up to. But I want to get more involved with other organizations, and reach out to people in the real world. So this is something that I'm appreciative of. But you can find me on YouTube, on TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all those things.
Yeah, actually, I read on my channel too, which is kind of funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The latest books that I've been reading on my channel, I read Michael Parenti's Dirty Truths. I read Blood in My Eye by George Jackson. I read Asada Shakur's autobiography. Right now, I'm reading Water in the Spirit by Melodoma Patrice Tomei. I'm also reading a book by Bell Hooks called The Will to Change. This one is really good.
Yes.
And then from Margaret Kimberly, a comrade who's at Black Agenda Report, she put out a book called Prejudential. So this is going to be really, I really appreciate this one. And then I read from Dr. Devon Price's Laziness Does Not Exist, which was amazing.
Yes.
So, you read that before?
No, but I love the title.
Yeah. Oh, that book is so cathartic, bro. You would be like, yeah.
You told me laziness is a myth and Blood in My Eye is the other one, right? That you were
Laziness Does Not Exist.
Or Laziness Does Not Exist, yeah.
Yeah. And then Blood in My Eye by George Jackson. Yeah.
George Jackson, got it.
Yeah. Thrift Books is great because you don't have to go through Amazon. Thriftbooks.com. They're great because they actually, let me share the sticker with you. One of the stickers that they shared with me, that they sent to me along with my books, was this.
Oh, nice. Great title.
Yeah.
No, that's not a book. That's a sticker. Okay.
Yeah, it's a sticker.
Could be a book.
But Thrift Books, you can bypass, Jeff Bezos and go straight to them. You may not get the books brand new, but at least you get the book. You know what I'm saying?
That doesn't matter. Yeah. I just need the words.
Yeah. But yeah. So I just want to share everybody your YouTube channel. And if you are on TikTok, you can also find Rathbone there. Rathbone also has some great content there, teaching people one day at a time. So it is great.
I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep, definitely. So thank you so very much for coming on. And look, I cannot wait to have more conversations with you in the near future because, well, you have a really good analysis. So I really appreciate it.
Well, I thank you so much for having me on. Like I said, excited to be here, and let's keep it going, baby. Let's keep it going.
Viva la revolution.
That's right. Thanks for everybody for hanging out with us.
All right.
And I'll see you guys next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Peace.
All right, people. So let's get into some of the house cleaning before we head on out. I just want to get to the chats as well as thank our patrons on Patreon. So one of the things that I like to do is, we like to thank our patrons on Patreon because without you guys, we would not be able to do this type of work. See, one of the things that we at RBN try to do is we're not just a news network. We don't just try to educate, but we also try to activate through our work on the ground. And so with that being said, you guys allow us to be able to do this more often so that we can be able to help out our fellow neighbors. This means not just doing mutual aid, but building dual power so that we may be able to circumvent this capitalist system. So we just want to give a big shout out and thank you to all of you for being patrons. And if you guys would like to, you guys can go to patreon.com/revolutionary blackout. And this means that you guys are actually helping us to be able to continue this work outside of this system. So that's one of the things that I wanted to say to you guys because, well, without y'all, there is no us. So thank you so very much for that. Also, I'm going to go into the chats really quick. Let me see here. Oh, I forgot to send that. I'm going to share the Right Brain link. I have it so far in the chat for Rumble and then Real Orlando. Hang on, let me do. Yeah, I already did it there. Let's put in Rockfin. Right Brain. And then Real Orlando. If you guys, I don't care if you're not in Florida, go ahead and give Real Orlando a follow. They are doing great work. I really appreciate them too. Oh yeah, right here. Gotta love the peeps. All right, so did I put it in Rockman? No, I didn't. JB, come on, man. There we go. All right. Neil, let's get into the chat because I know y'all have been vocal this entire stream. But I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So first off, we're going to go to Eric Gray. Says, for those who are interested in the Anarchist Library has plenty of reading material on education, youth liberation, and child abuse. I did not know that. Thank you so very much for that, Eric Gray. The Anarchist Library. All right. Thank you. Secession Now says communist fog are not based. I don't know what that means. And I'm really not feeling that that picture there. Zoya says teacher under communism is an honored and celebrated role in society. That's why communist countries have nearly 1% literacy rates, while 21% of U.S. adults are illiterate. And I think it's most U.S. adults don't have a reading level above 6th grade. It's sad. I mean, under a capitalist system, it should be more. But it's not. Let's continue. Janice Anderson says fascism has been in our society since well before the Great Depression. We had a short window in which our society was countering some aspects of fascism, but our government economy has always been fascist. Agreed. RBN Comrade Nick is in the house, says Zoya is too powerful. I agree. And then Nick was saying fair critique in response to UBI. Thank you so very much for coming into the chat, Nick. Uncommon Magic says, JB, I just had a thought experiment. UBI equals $174,000 a year plus gold-plated healthcare, just like Congress. I like the way you think. Yep, there you go. Uncanny Mountain says the system is only legitimate because you give it legitimacy, and wish casting doesn't work. Are y'all chipped to not go beyond institutionalism? The thing is that you are forced into capitalism. It is mandatory. You really do not. The only way to truly get out of capitalism is by destroying it. There's no way that you can just up and leave, right? Because even if we were to go to another country, well, what does the capitalist system dictate? That we go to those other countries to extract the resources, and if they are putting forth a different system, then we have to take down that country. So capitalism follows you nowhere, no matter where you go. Capitalism is literally a threat to the entire planet. What are we going to do? We'll go to Mars? Capitalism will follow us to Mars. So you got to get rid of the system in its entirety. It is a compulsory system. Jesus Christ Superstar says, JB, do you think this image says that we need to move beyond equity to liberation? Yes, I think we need to have equity, but also we need to push for liberation. True liberation is the ultimate goal. And it is more within reach than what we think. It's just we're told that it's not within reach. It's kind of like a parent when they're eating something and they're feeding a toddler and they go, all gone. When in reality, there's still some left, but they don't want you to know that, right? That's what we're always told. All gone, but it's not. We're constantly, they play in our face every single time. Geo says our workplaces are totalitarian dictatorships. Thus, our government is. Y'all right. This is a broad band-aid to save dictatorships. Thank you very much for that, Geo. Roger Meadows. Okay, he's in Louisiana, so we already talked about that. Zoya says reforms do improve material conditions, but never tackle their causes. Exactly. It's just like you can give me all the Vicks Vapor Rub you want, but until you actually give me the cure for that flu that I have, it ain't gonna do nothing. It ain't gonna do nothing with that cold that I have. You have to give me the cure for it. Uncommon Magic says, Wrath, I'm in Cajun country too. Would love to team up sometime. Thank you very much for that. We Wear the Mask says, We Wear the Mask has become a RBN channel member. So clap it up for We Wear the Mask. Thank you so very much for becoming an RBN channel member. Good to have you. Notori, I love you too. All right. Thank you so much. Good to see you, Notori. Parsifal says, this Wall Street Zio dictatorship is anything but a free market. They have price fixed everything from cable consolidations to grocery chains owned by one company under several names. Bingo is his name. Oh, thank you very much for that. Zoya says, millions organize around Bernie but can't organize around their own interests. Baby! Oh! Zoya be dropping bombs, boy. She be dropping gems. Damn, Zoya. Randy Bray says, sugar is a hell of a drug. Absolutely. They've invested in policies that promote it. They're invested in the diseases sticking around. They aren't going to let us fix our health without a fight. Yep, without a fight. Social emotional learning with Dr. Donnie says, hey, that NOLA love. I'm from Lafayette. Nice to have you. All right. And actually, I'll get to that in a second. Let me see. Holly says, how many cures has our government suppressed? I wonder. Oh, cures not just health-wise, but cures when it comes to technology. Like, for instance, a hydrogen-powered car that's run off of water. Huh? How many of those? Or let's talk about public transportation when they actually shut down all the electric streetcars just so that they can increase the amount of regular independent driving cars that people have. So instead of keeping our public transportation system in place and being robust, they wanted to give everybody just driving regular cars so that they can have a more individualistic model, thus propelling us further into climate change. We already had the cure a long time ago. They just didn't want us to have it because if you have the cure, well, let me see. Hello to Tim Price. Good to see you, part of the RBN Orlando chapter. Nice to have you in here. Let's see. And everybody that's watching, thank you so much, Rathbone. Thank you for coming on. Great to be able to collaborate and, because we believe in collaboration and cooperation, not competition. There's no need to compete because we're all trying to go for the same goal. All right. All right. So I'm going to go to the Rockfin chat real quick, and then we're going to head on. Oh, I didn't do that yet. All right. Okay, so Inamir says, happy Sunday, JB and fams. Digging the sweater. Thank you very much. Roger Meadows, thank you for the tip. He says, they say communism, socialism stifles innovation when it's really capitalism because there's more money in treating symptoms than coming up with permanent solutions and cures. Ooh, bars, Roger, bars. What is there to profit when you can come up with a cure for diabetes? What is there to profit from a battery that lasts 1,000 years? There's something that only government can do because there's no profit incentive. Oh, baby. See, Roger, tweet that out. Tweet that out. Tweet it out and I'll retweet it. Go ahead, do it. Do it. Because that's some. You see, this is why I called you the sage. See, that's why. I love my people. Let me go to this super chat. I really got to head on out. You guys are sending super chats when I'm trying to head on out. Plus, I got to use the bathroom. Maria says, I think they want to Mars. Oh, go to Mars. I hope they do. The vulture disaster death cult capitalists. just like what they did in that submarine. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much for that, Maria. Look, I'm not trying to get myself in trouble, but you know. All right, guys. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in for this stream. It was a great conversation between Rathbone and I. I want to thank Rathbone for coming on and gracing us with his presence. I cannot wait to have more conversations in the near future. Hopefully we can collaborate on a TikTok. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? And thank you so very much to everybody for tuning in. This has been a really wonderful stream. I really appreciate it. Please sure to tune in. I think Nick is going live tomorrow. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think he's going live. Hang on. Let me check the calendar. It's just to see. I don't see anything for tomorrow, but Nick, if something breaking happens or if Nick got some news stories, it'll be tomorrow. So yeah. I do know what's this? On Wednesday, Nick will be live at 2 p.m. Eastern. I think it's 2 p.m. Eastern. So go ahead and make sure to tune in to Nick on Wednesday. I guess I can say it now. I don't think there's anything bad. But be sure to tune in Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where it is going to be the Savvy and Jaybe show, but we're bringing back the RBN Roundtable. So all of us going to be there this Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I cannot wait to be there with Savvy, Nick, and Rome. So it's going to be a great conversation. We're going to be talking about some stuff. So be sure to be there or be square. We're going to be there as well. So if you guys have not, also, if you guys would like to subscribe to my own personal channel, my personal channel is also linked in the description down below. If you guys would like to subscribe there. Also, I'll be doing some reading. In fact, this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 5 hours from now, I will be getting into the live reading of Water in the Spirit by Melodoma Patrice. So that's going to be a good time as well. I got to get going because I gotta. And then also I got to start dinner. Oh, by the way, I'm making turkey wings, yo, turkey wings. I'm making turkey wings. We're going to have some collard greens and we're going to have some rice. So yeah, that's going to be a good time. I should have told my mama to get some eggs so I can make that cornbread too. Dang it. I got to tell her. I wants to make cornbread too. Plus we got honey and butter in the... Why didn't I tell her? JB, you and your absent-mindedness. Anyway, we got to get going. I got to get those turkey wings out the brine and get them in the oven. So they're going to be slow roasted. Anyway, you guys are going to have a great week. I just know it. Look, like I always say, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. Or watch something funny, because joy is revolutionary. And with that being said, I ended my stream yesterday with this, but I also want to end the stream as well with you guys with this too, because I think that a lot of times we do not associate our organizing and activism with fun. And I think that we also need to keep that in perspective, that you also need to have fun, because that also keeps us going too, right? So I'm going to leave you guys with this video, but I just want to say joy is revolutionary. Please continue to be joyful, be happy in your organizing, be happy in your helping people to understand the mode of production, be happy in your ability to help people understand why this system does not help us, and look forward to the new system that we as workers will usher in ourselves, because guess what? It is going to be a beautiful, bright future. Remain joyful in that way. Mwah! Forehead kisses to every single one of you, because that's just the kind of guy I am. I love giving forehead kisses. That's who I am, baby. All right. So I'm going to leave you guys with this video, and you guys have yourself a beautiful Sunday.
So I'm going to say it because nobody else will. You all know that even while the world is burning, even while all these horrible things are happening, you still have to participate and play and fun. Like, there's no healing without fun. There's no liberation without fun. There never has been. It sounds so frivolous, but it's so much deeper than you would think. Like, it is essential for survival. Also, we live in a society that demonizes play because we live under capitalism. And now we call anything that adults do that might in some way feel childish cringe. Play and fun has been essential for your development all throughout your life. I'm not trying to be a fun police, but y'all are going to make me go crazy if you do not understand that your activism has to include fun. That is how you build community. That is how you exist in the world. And that's the only way that you're sustainably able to be a part of a movement. My ancestors depended on play in order to survive. And some of the things that were done as leisure activities, it helped them liberate themselves. Like, it helped them get out of slavery. I saw a girl a couple weeks ago talk about how, like, people going out and like getting drinks or like going to dance, people act like, oh, you're like in your late 20s, you're in your late 30s, you shouldn't be partying. And she was talking about how like that is part of like community building. Like, anything that brings us together, we suddenly are demonizing it as if it's like immature to be doing it. Even Disney adults, while we're at home making fun of Disney adults because they're so cringe, they actually have community. Like, they get out of their house and they like make friends because they have something to be a part of. They participate and play as adults. Every group of people that has been oppressed, enslaved, whatever, they have found ways to have fun while their oppressor is oppressing them. You are entitled to fun as a human. It's a requirement for your flourishing.